Jams, jams, jams. Picture books and jams. Welcome, everybody, to PBJamz. Music and picture books. What a perfect sandwich. Squish them all together. What a yummy snack.
Good morning or afternoon or whenever you're joining us for PBJamz. Man, we are so glad that you are here. I am here with Anita Amin, the author of Raja's Pet Camel, a story that is set in India and is full of great Indian culture and some music too, of course, because we're here for PBJamz. So welcome, Anita. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me, Tanya. It's my one of
No, it's fine. Yeah. So this is not the first time that Anita and I have chatted. She actually came via Zoom to our reading council, our local reading council, last year on Raja's first birthday, and Raja's second book birthday is coming up October 1st, right?
Yes, October 1st is the second book birthday. I can't believe it. October 2020 is when it first came out. Yeah.
Right in the middle of pandemic craziness.
Yes. Yeah. And so it did have a virtual launch, and not an in-person launch, but I'm thankful that it came out with so many other books being delayed.
Exactly. Right. Yeah, everything's been such a weird place since pandemic started. It's kind of an odd time to try to get into publishing too, trust me. Still working at that. But yeah, so before I forget, my viewers and listeners out there, let me just say, second book birthday for Raja's Pet Camel. It'd be a great time for you to review the book if you have not. Request it from your library. Word of mouth, share it. It's such a fun little book. Share it with your friends and family. People that have connections to Indian culture will love it. People who love camels will love it. People who love dates will love it. There's so many reasons to love this book. It's a book about friendship, and it's just super fun. Problem solving. There's just so many great things about this book. So check it out from your library if they have it. If they don't, request it. Shoot out a review on Amazon or Goodreads or wherever you like to leave your reviews. And let's get Anita some good press for Raja's Pet Camel and get this second book birthday rolling right. So we're gonna just chat a little bit about the book. And so I always like to start out by asking about the inspiration and a little bit about your writing process. So talk to us about how the idea came and how it went actually writing this story.
Yeah, so there were a couple of things that sort of inspired me to write Raja's Pet Camel. A lot of my writing is inspired by my memories, childhood memories. I grew up in the United States, but we would go back, my family and I would go back and visit relatives in India when I was a child, pretty much every other summer. We would spend a lot of summers there and some winter vacations. And I was always kind of, so a lot of those experiences go into my writing, but I was always kind of struck by, there's so many animals in India, but not many people have pets, especially in the region my family's from. We're from the desert in Rajasthan, which is in the west of India. And so, I wouldn't even know where to find a pet store in Rajasthan. It's so uncommon now. Maybe more and more people in the big cities, or it's becoming more fashionable. But it's really kind of rare because the animals there are mainly used for work. For working, like hauling heavy loads or transportation. So that, and then I came across a couple of photos. And I actually always thought it was one photo of a boy smiling at his camel, but I started looking through my photos again. And I think it was actually two that I kind of put together side by side. So I'm going to show you, I'm going to cover up the faces of the boys though, because, these are not people that I know. So, and I don't want to show them on, but there are two boys sitting here and they're kind of smiling where my finger is. Right. And then there's also a camel here. And I started thinking, what if the smiling boy, found a stray camel, a baby camel, You know, I wanted to keep it as his pet. You know, so then that started developing into, you know, what if it's a mischievous camel making a mess, and his father is a stray pet, kind of story, and the father doesn't want to keep the camel, and then decides he wants to sell it at an upcoming fair. So then Raja, the little boy, has to find a way to keep the camel, and that sort of inspired the beginning of the story. So if you remember the photo, see, and then in the book, we have the smiling boy with the camel.
Love it.
So yeah, so that sort of inspired it, and it actually started out as a short story. And I even have like a list of a magazine short story, because I used to write short stories for magazines when I first started writing, and then picture books like almost 10 years later. So it started out as a short story, and I had a list of themes that it might fit, and I called it Camel and the Great Race. Camel is the name of the camel.
Okay.
And I had one line written in my notebook, which was actually, there's a desert scene in the book that I'll show you. And, you know, it was basically in the desert. They're walking to the fair, where his dad wants to sell the camel. And Raja, you know, throws his arms around his camel and says, I don't want to sell her. And his dad is making a campfire in my original notes. That part was cut out of the book. But, you know, he says that, you know, someone else can give it a good home. And that was those were the only lines I had in my notebook for, you know, several years. This actually started 11 years before it was published.
Gotcha.
So, and then it kind of sat for a while, and I ended up going back to it when my children were picture book age. And then I thought, well, maybe this would make a good picture book because there's so much illustration potential.
Right.
And I started writing it as a picture book and went from there.
Love that. Love it. And so in this book, there's, as I mentioned, there's a lot of Indian culture, and we're going to talk about that in a minute. But because of that, there's also some music. Music is always a huge part of almost all cultures throughout the world. So talk to us a little bit about where the music shows up in Raja's Pet Camel.
Yeah, so the music, just in general, India is a very musical country, and some of it is very subtle. Just like I brought, you know, a scarf, which is part of a lot of the clothing that women wear. You know, and it usually goes around the neck, or it might be draped like this. But they have bells. A lot of them have bells, not always, but they have bells, which, you know, I love. That's my favorite type of clothing. I always look for ones with bells because I love, you know, when you walk it, the bells make a beautiful little jingle. And, yeah, and then women also wear these bangles, which, you know, kind of, you know, makes a lovely sound, you know, as they move their arms up and down. So, and even, you know, I remember in Calcutta, which is on the other side of India, when this man would walk the streets around 4 o'clock, waking factory workers up to go, and he would say in kind of like a rhythmic voice, sablokuto, you know, sablokuto, and then it's very rhythmic the way he said it. So music is a big part of the Indian culture. And then of course there's Bollywood, you know, a lot of people heard about Bollywood, which a lot of the movies in India have, you know, huge, like a lot of dance and music in it. And so in the book specifically, I kind of went off topic, but in the book,
oh, that's good. That was great.
Yeah. So in the book specifically, music is explicitly mentioned in at the fair. And this is actually inspired by a real fair called the Pushkar Fair. And they have, in addition to a camel race and a mustache contest, they have a camel dancing contest. So there's a lot of music at this fair. And I mentioned that there are tabla drummers. Tabla is a type of drum. In India, it's usually handheld, or it might be set on the floor. The musician uses his fingers and hands to beat the rhythm on the drum. And there are also, I mentioned sitar strummers, which are at this fair. And that's a long kind of instrument. It's a stringed instrument. And my mom used to play the sitar, so we have a
Oh,
sitar at
nice.
home. Yeah, so that's explicitly mentioned. And then there's a couple of other places that are not as explicit, but there's still some rhythm, even at the beginning of the book, where I have as Roger walked home from school, lone baby camel cried, mew, mew. You know, so that's kind of a rhythmic, not music per se, but a rhythm, you know, to it. And then there was another spot that I mentioned that's kind of subtle. And I say here that, you know, the camel's not wanting to listen. They're trying to train the camel for a race. And Raja scolded and coaxed Camel. So camels like to dance. So, you know, in here I'm envisioning that he used music to try to coax Camel into dancing. But dates was what worked.
Right. Right. That's where the dates come in. Yeah. Yes. So, and that's interesting. So I didn't really, and somehow, even though we've talked before, I hadn't really picked up on the camel dancing. So that's a typical thing. Like camels enjoy music and they like to dance.
The camels, they have a dancing contest at the Pushkar Fair. I don't really know. I won't pretend to know a whole bunch about camels.
Right.
But I found it interesting. I saw some videos of these camels dance, like, you know, they were actually dancing, like, you know, lifting their feet, you know, I guess hooks maybe.
I would think,
I don't know what they're called, but
yeah,
they were dancing to the
how
music.
cool.
So yeah, so oh, and there was one other place that related to music. And this is at the I marked some things and so they're kind of falling out. But this is at the race. But the soft pounding of camel feet grew louder and louder. Camel was catching up. So the soft pounding of camel feet, I had envisioned sort of like a tabla drumming almost.
Right.
In that sense, you know. So
fun. That's really inspiring. Like I can just imagine just a nice piece of music that would kind of integrate those things, the sitar and the tabla and the, you know, the camel hooves racing and the jingles. Oh yeah, I can totally hear that in my head.
The jingles, and they do have in India, they have, and at the fair they have these wooden flutes that are called Venturi flutes. And they're made out of bamboo wood. And usually, you know, the player will blow through a side hole here. This is a side hole. This is a kid version though, so there's a
right
over here. You know, it sounds like a whistle almost.
Nice.
That, you know, so
yeah. And say the name of that instrument again.
Bansuri.
Venturi.
Venturi, yeah, Venturi.
Nice. Yeah, I love that. So talk to us about some of the other Indian culture that shows up in this book outside of the music. And specifically, like if people are reading this book, what would you want them to know about Indian culture? What would you want them to take away from the book related to that?
Yeah, I hope that, you know, when they read the book, that they'll see the vibrance, you know, how vibrant India is as a country and the culture. And that it opens a window, you know, to maybe a place that they've never been before, or they may not have access to, you know, because I know it's hard for people to travel, and this is, you know, on the other side of the world. But also that, you know, that they find that, you know, they find a connection, that there are similarities. Even though there are differences, there are also similarities. You know, because this is basically Raja is, you know, just another boy. You know, any other boy who wants a pet,
right?
You know, and he you know tries to he wants to play with his pet, you know, and you know he loves his father, you know, so he wants to be right by his father too, and you know wants to please please everyone, but wants to keep his pet. So, you know, and I love the colors that Parwinder Singh used. He's the illustrator. Parwinder Singh's the illustrator. And I think it really brings out, you know, India is a very colorful country. You know, you'll see, you know, a lot of people, I used to think of the desert as very, you know, like dusty and bland and, you know, brown and, you know, just like, you know, blah.
Yeah.
But it's actually very, in India, it's very lovely. It's very soft and soothing and musical, like we talked about. And the clothes are very bright that the women wear, you know, bright colors like this.
Right.
You know, so in the marketplace, even, you know, like I said, I tried to bring out a lot of my memories in the book. So even the marketplace, like this is the picture of a marketplace that I had taken over there. And this is the, you know, this came into the book, Parwinder drew, you know, so those colors, even the food there is very colorful, that's prepared. So, you know, I hope that kids, you know, any reader takes away, you know, how beautiful the culture is, and maybe it's something they can connect to.
So I know dates figure prominently in there because, like she said, that's finally the kind of the thing that spurs Raja on to do the right thing. But and I'm gonna put you on the spot, Anita. I didn't warn you about this one, but what is your favorite food from India?
Oh my gosh, there's so many. There's so many, but probably right now I've had a huge craving for kulfi and kheer, because they both have almonds in it. And I've just been craving almonds for some reason. But kulfi is an Indian ice cream. It's like a popsicle, and it's made out of milk and cream. And then they make different variations, like mango kulfi, pistachio kulfi is one of my favorites. And then there's also kheer is like a rice pudding, but it's made with saffron and a little bit of sugar and cardamom. And then I put almonds on top. So I've been craving those, but I love a lot of different things. Like I love samosas, which are like fried dumplings with potatoes and peas in them. I love, you know, the bread. And there are different kinds of soft round bread that you'll find, like naan bread. You can get that in the store, actually, naan bread.
Right.
And a lot of the vegetables, you know, I grew up vegetarian, so I like a lot of the vegetables. So yeah.
Nice.
And sweets. Sweets are really huge in Rajasthan. Like even for breakfast, you get sweets.
Are they like pastry kind of sweets?
No, so these are more like a cutlee is one of my favorites, and that's also almonds, made out of almonds, and it's almost like a marzipan, like a hard marzipan, with silver foil on it. So it's kind of like a cross maybe between fudge and marzipan.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I just thought that might inspire some folks to try. I love trying new. In fact, I'm drinking my chai today in honor of our conversation, and I have my little Bombay chickpeas, my little crunchy chickpeas. So
I love those kind of chickpeas. I
know
too.
they're yummy. Yeah. So I was like, oh, let me grab this snack to take up with me since I'm talking to Anita today. So I love, you know, getting people inspired to try new things and try out new cultures. And that's one of the things that I love most about this book. There's lots of things to love, but I really enjoyed getting little glimpses of the Indian culture, because it's not, you know, it's not one of the ones that we typically talk about as often. I think that's changing. But I think coming through school for me, like I don't remember hearing much about Indian culture. And when I first started teaching, there wasn't as much about it, but I find there's more and more now. And I think books like yours really go a long way toward promoting, you know, Indian culture and making it more of the norm. So I'm excited to see, and I hope that it just grows and grows in its popularity.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I think that's interesting. Actually, the Children's Book Council comes out with statistics. I don't know how often they do it, but I remember like reading like probably a decade ago, books by Asian American authors were were just a handful. And I
Right.
can believe that because when my children were young, picture book age, I was looking for some books to sort of, share my heritage,
Right.
or their heritage with them. And I mean, I could find like maybe 2 picture books, almost nothing. And then recently, I think the last statistic that came out was maybe 2020 or 2021. And it was it was a little bit less than 10%. So it's definitely gone up.
Growing, right?
Yeah, definitely gone up. But I think there's room for more because Asian American is a huge range,
It is. You're right.
many different countries and many different religions and many different cultures.
Yeah,
So yeah.
absolutely. Well, this one goes a long way toward that, and I'm excited to see it. And tell us about what else is coming. What are you working on right
Yeah.
now? Do you have anything else in the pipeline? What can we look for?
Yeah, I'm working on, I have some other picture book ideas, biographies. I haven't written
cool.
any nonfiction picture books yet.
Uh-huh.
So that's kind of a new project that I'm working on. And those are primarily Indian STEM
Oh,
nonfiction picture books. And then I'm also was asked to write a 4-book fiction chapter book series.
nice.
So yeah, so for an education publisher. So and then is also featuring Hindu American
Okay.
as the main character. So
Uh-huh.
yeah,
Cool.
so I have that to look forward to coming out soon. A lot of work to be done, but yeah, I'm excited to write them.
That is exciting. Yeah, it's always fun to work on new projects. Yeah, I tend to put off the revision bit because I like starting new projects. Yeah. So below my PBJM folks, we are going to link up where you can purchase Raja's Pet Camel. We're going to link up tons of ideas for how you can use it in the classroom to promote Indian culture, to focus on a lot of different things. Like I said, it's a friendship book. It is a great book about kids who want pets, which is absolutely a universal theme. Like every child worldwide, I think, wants a pet at some point. So this is a great way to bring this into your classrooms. And so I'm going to link up tons of ways below for music teachers, for classroom teachers. There's going to be writing prompts. And I have, of course, a PBJ recipe that's going to be linked up below. And let me just remind you again, anytime we have authors on PBJamz, please request their books from the library, put in those requests, write a review if you've read it and loved it. 50 reviews on Amazon goes a long way toward bumping that book up to a recommended status. So if you see books that you love that don't have 50 reviews, then just jump on there and write a review for them. It'll really help out the author. Word of mouth is the very best way, I think. Also, just sharing books with your friends that you think they would enjoy. So just check out Raja's Pet Camel and check out all the cool things that we're going to link up. And Anita's doing a giveaway. What did we decide, Anita?
A copy of Raja's Pet Camel and a Zoom, free Zoom for
Two
the classroom.
prizes. Two prizes. So a signed copy of Raja's Pet Camel is up for grabs, and a classroom Zoom. And Anita will come on and talk about the book like she's done here, but for kids, and maybe read a little bit of it.
Yep. I'll read the whole book and talk about answer questions. I love doing that with children in the classrooms.
So fun. Yeah, they do.
And I did want to mention, there's also a free 30-page reader's guide that Gladys Appleton put together. She's a teacher, and it's on my website, and also I think the Cardinal Rule Press website. They're the publisher.
Okay.
Of the book.
Yes, I remember looking at that when we talked before, and I'll link that up below here too, so it'll be easy for them to find. Yeah, so there's going to be tons of ways that you can use this book and expand on what Anita shared today. And yeah, so it's a fabulous book, and we hope that you will read it, review it, check it out, and all those wonderful things. And we hope that you have a great week exploring Indian culture. And we will see you next time on PBJamz. Thanks again, Anita, for being here today.
Thank you, Tani. I really appreciate it.
All right, guys, we'll see you next
Okay.
time on PBJamz.
Songish books and bookish songs, tips for music teachers, interviews and book reviews, a little singing and dancing. PBJamz, yummy books and music. PBJamz, reading, writing, teaching. PBJamz, what a yummy treat. Jamming PBs all the time. PBJamz, jams, jams, jams. Picture books and jams.